Don't worry. We're on the pipeline stuff. Danielle's on line one. Don't worry. It's going to happen. But, well, something's going to happen. Let's put it that way. It's not very good negotiating by my perspective.
The Prime Minister Friday offering his strongest endorsement yet to a pipeline discussion with Alberta, discussions that continue in the wake of the federal budget. And joining us now is that gentleman, Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne. Minister Champagne, good of you to chat with us as you touch down in Calgary as part of your post-budget tour. Thank you, sir.
Well, delighted to be with you. You know, I love to come to Calgary. I love to come to Alberta. This is a place who knows how to build and to build big and to dream big. So for me, it was natural, I would say, to be, to be coming in Calgary. One of the first stops that I'm doing post-budget to really talk, because an investment budget speaks to people of Alberta, because this province has been made by, people who have invested, people who saw the opportunities in the natural resources sector and have been growing the economy for generations. So very glad to be with you and to be here in Calgary.
Okay, so maybe on that point, why is this the right budget where Alberta is concerned?
Well, there's a lot in that budget that speaks to Alberta, because what we wanted to make sure was to supercharge growth. You know, we've been too long, if you look at the productivity in Canada, it's been declining, and this budget is really to supercharge growth. So if you're a small and medium-sized business, the productivity super deduction, where if you buy manufacturing, building equipment, machinery, technology to make your business more productive, more competitive, well, you've got good news, because now you've got this deduction with immediate expensing for your business. If you're at the provincial level, well, one of the things that my provincial colleagues have been asking me over time was to give them a hand on infrastructure, because, municipalities, we need to build more, whether it's sewer, whether it's water pipes. There's so much to be done. And one of the things that some colleagues have been asking me as well was to invest in health infrastructure. So we said for the first time, the federal government would be there. But what you see, by and large, is that people realize that we're facing a bit of headwind. We've seen it on the factory floor, in the fields, families. What we're saying is that we have the fiscal capacity. You may have seen the International Monetary Fund single out Germany and Canada as the really two countries in the G7 who can afford to invest in growth. And then at the same time, we're choosing to do that. So housing, infrastructure, competitiveness, productivity, and defense. And at the same time, I would say putting the house in order, finding $60 billion of savings, because Canadians and Albertans have been tightening their belt for quite some time. So for me, it was just natural that Ottawa does exactly the same. So we have the means of our ambition, and I'm very confident, because if you see what we're investing, which I would say generational investments, if you look at Germany, it's about at par, even more than what Germany has been doing, which is the largest economy in Europe. We're really supercharging growth, and I'm happy, because this is a place, this is language that speaks to people here in Alberta.
Okay, so with that in mind, how heavily does the content of this budget weigh on the state of negotiations between your government and the Alberta government, as the two sides work through resetting the relationship, coming to, we understand, a memorandum of understanding? And we're also to understand the Prime Minister is to announce the next wave of major projects on Thursday in Prince Rupert.
Well, that's all good news. Like you said, I get along very well with my provincial colleague, the finance minister, Nate. We've been engaging the premier, Premier Smith. I'm going to see her today. We've always, over the years, have a very open exchange. I presided the BAM Forum for many years in this province, probably one of the provinces I spend most of my time outside of my home province of Quebec. So I feel very close to the business leader in the sector, community leaders, the mayors, and obviously the premier. So we're going to have a chance to talk about that. But I think it's really good news, because for folks, this is about affordability. The first thing that's in the minds of folks is, the end of the week, the end of the month. So they say, give us a hand. That's what we've done to make sure that we can help people with tax cut at a time where they need more money in their pocket. But at the same time, people are saying, make sure you invest in our future so that we can grow the economy and reverse that trend where we've seen less productivity in Canada. So I think what we've put as a menu of investments is really something that if you're a small and medium-sized businesses, or if you're in the oil gas sector or in construction, that budget speaks to you because now you have certainty, you have predictability, and you also have the fiscal incentive. Actually, just to give you an example, a dollar invested today will be more profitable than a dollar invested in the United States on a tax basis. So this is quite significant that new investment in Canada would benefit from a lower tax rate than what they find in the United States. We know that people here, folks have sometime asset or business on both sides of the border. And now Canada is going to be the most competitive places to invest in the G7 on a tax basis, which is quite remarkable, where people say, what we need now is to be more competitive, to make sure that people can invest in the country. The Major Project Office speaks to people here. You mentioned the Project Pathway Plus. What are we going to do in order to make sure that we can grow the economy in the province, grow the natural resources sector, mining? If you look at critical minerals, we have a suite of measures that would think, I think if I compare it to the G7, we're probably the most attractive now when it comes to critical minerals. So this is a place where we have the people, we have very strong industry, we have critical mineral, natural resources, we have energy, we're connected to the world. I think that if you're in Alberta today and you see the federal budget, this is something that speaks to you directly.
Yeah, there a lot of attention post-budget on the promised climate competitiveness strategy. Some concerns as well, though, that it's short on details. How do you see energy and environment going hand in hand such that, to your point, investors will have the certainty to move forward with major projects?
I think so. You know, we know how to do things responsibly and sustainably in Canada. We have a suite of investments tax credit when it comes to our carbon capture and sequestration. With respect to hydrogen, you know, we've been able to attract in this province some of the largest projects. For example, the first net zero cement plant. We had the Dow Chemical and Investment. You know, if you're watching at home, we're going to go find. Like I said, there's some headwinds, but we need to become our own best customers. We need to build one Canadian economy. We need to make sure that people can invest in our country and grow the economy. And you know, we're going to do our part in Ottawa. We're going to work very closely with the Premier and our team here in Alberta. And you know, that's why I say I'm confident because, you know, stability, predictability, those are the type of things that speak to people. And when you bring the fiscal incentives for people to invest at the same time that you remain true to your Canadian values, a lot of folks, you know, it's been tough recently. So we need to stand shoulder to shoulder. So that's why I say this is a very focused budget. This is a targeted at growing the country and our economy and supporting key industries that like we have in the country, like natural resources.
Okay, on that point of confidence vote is looming. How open is your government to concessions to get the budget passed?
Well, I mean, you've seen two votes have gone, have gone well. I think it's very difficult if you're in the opposition these days. There must be a lot of soul searching because why would you be against investing in infrastructures in municipalities that need it, or health infrastructure like modernizing hospital or clinics, when you're talking about supporting, the natural resources sector, when you're talking about trade corridors to make our economy more efficient, when you're talking about the tax cut for the middle class, you know, I think for them, there's a lot of soul searching going on, I think, these days, because this is a budget that speaks to workers. It's a budget that speaks to family. It's a budget that speaks to businesses. So it must be, I'm sure, and you've seen some which have had a lot of reflection recently, because actually, I think people have little patience for political games. We need to meet the moment. We need to be ambitious. Canada is predicted to have the second largest growth in the G7, but we need to make these key investments to build our country, and confident country invest in themselves. So I'm hopeful that our friends on all sides will come together and say, this is a moment for Canada. We need to build Canada strong together, and I'm confident on that.
All right. We'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time this evening, Minister Champagne. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
That's Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne.